Scene 1. Harriet Tubman was born in slavery in the state of Maryland in Dorchester County. Her mother, Britt Green, worked as a cook in the big house where her master and her family lived. Harriet's father, Ben Ross, was a skilled woodsman who was in charge of his master's timber operations, overseeing other slaves who cut down trees and turned them into beams and planks. Harriet's family lived in a small cabin on the plantation, like other slaves did. One night, her father showed her how you can find the North Star by looking for the Big Dipper. 7 stars in the sky that look like big frying pans. Pretend you draw a line between the 2 outer stars in the Big Dipper's bowl, he told her. Follow that line until you see a big, bright star, 5 times further up that line. That, my daughter, is the North Star. Every night, the Big Dipper and all the other stars will circle around the North Star, but the North Star is in the middle, but the North Star in the middle will never move. That's how you always know how to go north.
Lexi, you stay still. You stay where you are because now we're going to
Scene 3. Harriet's master rented out many of his slaves, including Harriet. He soon found that Harriet was no good at housework. She liked to work outdoors and was very strong, although she was only 5 feet tall. So she was sent to work with her father,
Okay.
cutting.
So, cutting. 1, 2, 3. Woof. Okay. Now doing.
And hauling wood.
Just try to kind of. Yeah.
Pretend like you're carrying it away.
Yes. Let's just carry it away. Whoops. That's okay.
Up against the screen.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Not as easy as it looks.
Well done. Yes.
Among the men shipping the timber to other places were 3 blacks, people who had been able to purchase their own freedom, or those parents or grandparents who had been freed before their children were born. Harriet loved to hear their stories about the states further north where slavery was not allowed anymore. Scene 4.
Scene 4. Okay, both Chloe.
One of the 3 blacks Harriet met was John Tubman. They fell in love and got married.
Okay, now we need to embrace. Okay, all right.
Although Harriet could sleep in John's cabin, she was still a slave. During the day, she had to work for her master. If she had children,
okay, you can still put him there. I'm just going to put this one
her
there.
owner would own them too. And there was always a possibility that she would be sold far away from her husband and her family. One day, Harriet heard that her master had died. His wife wanted to sell many slaves to pay the bills.
All right, yeah, there we go.
We must go north, she said to John Tubman. I have heard that there are people to help runaway slaves escape to north by directing them to safe houses. But John said, I don't want to leave. I don't want to build a new life in a place that I do not know. My life is good enough here. We're going to stay. Scene 5. Then Harriet went to see her 2 brothers, Benjamin and William Henry.
So, to the screen, yes.
We have to escape north, she said. I have heard from the timber shippers that there are people who will help us along the way. First, her brothers agreed to come with her, but they soon got scared. Our master will offer a reward for our return, they said. Slave catchers will come look for us with their dogs. We will never make it to the north. And they went back to the plantation.
Okay, turn around. Turn around, go back.
Walk back towards the door. But Harriet did not give up. I have a right to only 2 things, liberty or death, she said to herself. If I cannot have one, I will have the other. Scene 6.
Getting the Quaker woman, right? So the house is coming up?
Harriet went to the house of a Quaker woman not far away, who had told her she could come in if she ever needed help. Quakers were religious people who believed slavery was wrong. Wait until my husband, this is you, England, wait until my husband comes home tonight, the Quaker woman said. He will take you in his wagon to a safe house. The people that you meet there will direct you to the next place to go, and you will do so until you reach Pennsylvania, where you will be free. Scene 7. When the woman's husband came home that night,
Okay, we're going to stick him. Can you hold him like that? Oops. All right. Can you hold him? He sits in his seat. Oops. All right. Just can you hold it like that? All right. Yeah. If you want to have do you want to have a piece of tape or not? No? It's okay. All right. So.
he hid Harriet in his wagon underneath the vegetables that he was going to bring to market.
I forgot to bring the vegetables, guys. Okay.
They drove off.
Thank you.
Scene 8. Harriet was traveling on the Underground Railroad. It was a bumpy ride to the next station. But Harriet fell asleep. She woke up when the wagon stopped in front of a house. The Quaker helped her out of the wagon and knocked on the door.
All right. I'm going to turn off the take off. Whoops.
You're in the
All
house.
right. You're in the house. Okay.
Who's there? A woman asked. A friend of a friend, the Quaker replied. That was the secret code used on the Underground Railroad. The woman gave Harriet something to eat
All right.
and hid her in the attic during the day.
Good point. Thank you. And now we're going to go. Turn around.
At night, she was sent on her way. And so Harriet traveled from place to place. She slept during the day and traveled at night, following the North Star.
Okay, I'm not rowing, guys. I can. It's getting a little bit too complicated. Full moon.
Sometimes she slept, sometimes she had to sleep outside, making sure she was hidden from sight. A few times she had to cross the swamp. It soaked her skirts, but she knew no dog would follow her scent.
Okay, so I still need to get the swamp. Swamp nearing.
When she was lucky, she could sleep in somebody's shed or loft. Other times she had to sleep outside in a haystack. Scene 14. Harriet lost count of the numbers of days and nights she was on the run. But one night, a woman told her that Pennsylvania was not far anymore, far away. This is you speaking. When you have crossed the woods, you will see an open field, she told her. The border between Maryland and Pennsylvania is marked with boundary stones. On one side is the letter M for Maryland, and on the other side is the letter P for Pennsylvania. Slaves were not allowed to learn to read, so the woman drew the letters on a piece of paper so that Harriet would recognize them. Scene 15. Harriet could not wait to finally arrive in Pennsylvania. The sky was cloudy and the North Star was not visible. So she had to find her way by feeling the moss on the dead tree trunks, which grew on the north side.
Above the tree trunk.
Scene 16. When she came out of the woods, the sun had just come up. Not too far away, she saw a marker with the letters that the woman had drawn for her. Harriet fell on her knees. She looked at her hands to see if she was the same person. She later said, "There was such a glory over everything. The sun came like gold through the trees and over the fields, and I felt like I was in heaven." Scene 17.
Right. Do you want?
Put your arms down so you can hold the string. There we go. Got it. Harriet started to walk to an open road. A man with a horse and wagon drove by. "I'm on my way to Philadelphia," he said. "Do you need a ride?" Scene 18, stand up, walk around. When they finally arrived in Philadelphia, Harriet could not believe her eyes. Find a spot. Find a spot on the screen. Crowded? Crowded?
Be very busy. Can I walk around? Awesome.
There were carts and people everywhere. Many of them were black and they were free. One of them took off his hat. Take off your hat.
Is that?
For her and asked her if she needed help. "Do you know where I can find the office of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society?" Harriet asked. The man showed her where to go. "Give my regards to William Still," he says. "He has helped many of us." This is the office of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society. William was working there as a clerk and kept records of all the fugitives who entered his office, which he later turned into a book. Over the next 10 years, Harriet would become one of the most famous conductors of the Underground Railroad. This is extra remarkable because soon after she arrived in Philadelphia, a fugitive slave law was passed, which meant if you were found in a free state and you were an escaped slave, you could be actually sent back to the South and back to slavery. William Still wrote about her. Harriet was a woman of no pretensions. A more ordinary person could hardly be found. Yet in courage, shrewdness, and efforts to rescue her fellow men, she was without an equal. Time and again, she made successful visits to Maryland on the Underground Railroad and would be absent for weeks at a time, running daily tasks while making preparations for herself and passengers. She seemed without personal fear. The idea of being captured by slave hunters or slave holders seemed never to enter her mind.